Okay, so we are working on doors. Bang, crash, bash, drill, drill. This first thing, I was talking about the seals last time. So the seals, I used impact adhesive, which is a European product. It's basically contact cement that's really good for rubber and stuff. And I ran a bead of it around the door frame, and then a little bead of it, and then in. And then in this area here, going down the side in here, I've cut off the outside piece. So you can sort of see here, it's in two halves. So I just ran the X-Acto knife down and cut that section out. And the reason is, it pinches in on this door limiter unit. It sort of butts up against it even when you've cut half of it off, and I was finding it was actually bending the metal. So anyway, once that was out, cut, and then I've got this set back a good 1/4 of an inch. So when it closes, it's sort of right out here, not up in here. And after letting the door sit for 24 hours, it'll springs open. If you just like unlatch it, it'll pop. It starts having a resistance about there, and then so you can just sort of close it both sides. This travel limiter is a little stiffer than the other one. By the way, I'm mounting the speakers right now. I'm talking about things being crazy. The travel limiter is less than an 1/8 of an inch gap to the back of the magnet on the Hertz 6.5 inch speaker. So yeah, it fits. It fits barely. So this little metal flange here, I've got the speaker on 3/4 inch hexagonal offsets, and that actually has it so that the speaker is just behind this little flashing here, so it's sort of offset back. It fits. It's very hard to get in. Sort of slip it in here and slide it along, but this is going to work fine. I'll have a foam surround that'll block the sound waves from the back from getting around to the front of the grill. So I will, once this is permanently in place, this is just test fitted, then boom, that speaker is there. And I've got this accordion piece, and I've drilled a hole, as you can see up here, and the accordion piece will go between the door and the body. So doors are coming along. So what I've done is, like the rest of the car, I've put the heavy sound mat material in. I ran a bunch more, just with a paintbrush, put a bunch of zinc primer down at the base, just as a sort of a cathodic protective layer. And then I've sprayed it with my favorite stuff here, the Max Wax, which, I've got a different cavity wax that I'd sprayed all the internal channels with, and this is sort of allows me on a sort of a much finer control to be able to go in. So I've sort of gone around the car and all the hidden places and given it another coat of wax, and in this case inside the doors, just like the factory guys would have done or did do. So I'm not going to put any weather protection around the speaker. I know water can get in from behind and from above, or from over here maybe, but I'm not going to drive the car in a ton of wet weather anyway, and these speakers are waterproof, so I'm just going to avoid putting insulation in there that can soak up like a sponge. But yeah, the speakers are going to be awesome. Those, I'm going to cut off that frequency to about 70 hertz. I'm not going to drive it all the way down to 30, 40 hertz. And then I've got the subwoofer at the back, that carbon fiber subwoofer that's lightweight, 10-inch woofer, long excursion woofer. So that'll provide all the very low end. And then I'm going to put the 1-inch dome tweeters up top. And that should be perfection. So the window mechanisms, these are replacement mechanisms, and I cut off the metal tube, and so the mechanism runs in these flexible rubber tubes instead, because I have to, it comes down here, and instead of going straight across where the speaker is, it's going to wrap up and around and down, which is fine. It's flexible enough to do that, but I need a plastic tube to run it in. So I'm just sort of test fitting that, and then I'll put the window divider channel in and the gaskets and the lifter mechanism and everything in the next day, and start assembling this whole final assembly of the door, and have it done pretty soon. So there you go. Yeah, so the speaker's in permanently now with Loctite on the hardware, and I use 7/8 round foam stock around the periphery there to seal it in, and yeah, it's good. I got the wiring in there, and do the other door now. So there's the old window lifts, and the new window lifts, they're shiny, but they don't take the same shape, and they don't go in very nicely, so you gotta bend them. You know, let me zoom out here. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to align them, roughly speaking, where they gotta go. The holes, top and bottom there, and then these 4 holes. They don't have to be perfect, but they got to be close, and then you can muscle it in. But they were nowhere close, so lots of work. Plus, I've had a little bit of problem. I cut the end off here, and I'm using plastic tubing. It has to bend at a sharp angle to go around the speaker. And well, let's just say this point here is under a lot of pressure, obviously, with the tight radius. And so I've had to open this up and flute it, and then I'm going to have to clamp the rubber pretty tightly around it, because this wants to push the tubing off the end. So I'm wrestling with this stuff, slowly beating the shit out of the door, unfortunately. But the other door should go a lot quicker and smoother, I think. Yeah. So the trick was to use the old ones as a template, and carefully bend it into the same position, because the aftermarket ones weren't very good. I've got this, the line, it runs lower now, it catches inside this, and then down she goes. It has to take a bend out and around, and it's working fine. It's a little stiff. Hopefully that'll improve. Part of it's the hard angle here, but I'm a complete audiophile kind of stereo system guy, so gotta have my high-end audio system. So the doors are a little bit, they're both done with the winders, and I'm, you know, if I have to put up with a bit of stiffness, I will. Just starting to put in the glass. I've test fit the big panel first, and it works, so I'm going to put the quarter glass and moldings in and frame, and then I'm going to put the rest of it in. So this is a big part, getting this done. Yeah, so I put this in, which is fine, and I actually put felt on the lifter mechanism, just so, because the lexan is flat, it's not curved. It'll take the shape of the door when it goes up the channel, but when it drops down, it flattens out and it rubs on the shaft here. So I've got to protect the window from scratching. You know, it's one of these things, you forget the order in which you're supposed to do things. If you're not familiar, don't do this enough, obviously. It's the first time around. So I put all this in, and it's all bolted in, and it's all been pounded into place with a rubber hammer, and it's all perfectly mounted. And then I realized, oh right, I've got to put these things on first. Ha ha ha. And just a quick comment, these are aftermarket units from Germany, reproduction, slightly the wrong length maybe, we'll see when it goes on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lift the rubber glue it, and then lift the rubber and slide it into the rubber rather than take that whole thing back off again on this side. And the edges needed to be trimmed. There's sort of an extra flashing on each end, so I had to sort of realize I had to trim that and then touch up paint it. So I'm going to do the other side as well. Don't have the window in yet, so it gives me a chance to do that one properly and not get it out of sequence. So that the quarter panel went in after several attempts. I guess the trick is the rubber, you're going to sort of be pushing it in to the corner with lots of soapy solution on both the glass and the outside rubber contact with the metal, the door frame. And you know, you can use a mallet and tap it all in, but you got to make sure you don't stretch the rubber too much. The first time I did it, the rubber stretched, and I ended up with too much rubber sort of left over on this end while the whole thing was seated in here. So you got to be careful to sort of pull the rubber along early, grab it, tuck it in, move the glass into the rubber. Don't end up with too much stretching and rubber left here, so this piece is harder to put in, or impossible to put in. So make sure you've got this strip in first. So this is an aftermarket piece, and it's important to me because the other ones were dead. It looks the part, looks good. Not a perfect fit on this corner right over here, but you can't see it. Certainly when the door's closed, you can't see it. So both sides, I've optimized it for this area where you can see it quite readily. And that's this side. It's actually slightly proud in this upper edge here. But I think we're ready to put the remaining trim and glass in now. Yeah, there it is. So it rolls up and down. The only thing you got to do is, when it's at the very top, you have to help it get in the lip at the top. And these lower pieces here, these replacement pieces, need to be cut to the right length. And you know, I don't like the way they line up with the other moldings, but it's just the way the factory did it. It's sort of not up to the most modern standards of fit, but yeah, it works. So I ended up drilling, you can see here in the other channel I haven't put in yet, a couple of holes. That's just zinc there after I've drilled the holes, just so I don't have to pound the channel into the lexan, and instead I just bolt through it, drill some holes to the lexan and bolt through it, so it helps pull the window down and keep the channel in place. So yeah, it works. It's a little stiff, but I knew it would be stiff. You know, that's the hardest part of these doors, getting the door cards on. It's 2 minutes worth of work. So anyway, this is time for lunch break and then do the other door. Well, you know, the first door, let's just call it beginner's luck, because the mechanism, it works. I can roll it up, even though it doesn't want to roll up because it's forcing a flat piece of lexan. Let me just zoom out a bit. It's forcing a flat piece of lexan to take shape, so it's pushing hard against the channels and the edges, and it's forcing it up. But it'll go up and down. It's just one of these things where you go, do I really? How many times will I do that before the mechanism's going to go snap? On the other side, you know, it's just like you got to do things more than once to see what the results are. And it was not beginner's luck on the other side. I've slightly damaged the winding mechanism because I didn't have the window lift mechanism centered exactly, and as it got closer to the top, it was getting further and further out of the proper alignment and putting more and more force on it. And So there's looseness in the winding mechanism now. So ultimately that mechanism has to be replaced, but you know, it's just tighter. It's just not as smooth as the driver's side. So question is, how often will that passenger window go up and down? I do have a sunroof. We need some air. Open the sunroof. So I'm a couple things. One, I'm going to talk to a local plastics company that can do vacuum forming and heating, and see if they can actually curve some of this material, this Margard material. Maybe it's not possible, maybe it is, but if I can get some curved pieces, that's way better. Or I guess I could always just go to glass and get away from this problem. But I think I'll try for some curved lexan down the road, and I'm not going to stall the project any further. I'm going to complete it as it is. But this is one of these sort of things to chisel away on in the downstream bit. Well, I've been thinking about this overnight, and I'm not happy about these windows. You can see the window's actually not sitting curved, it's flattening out because there's some play in the channels that hold the glass, so it's bowed, but it's not bowed perfectly. It's kind of flat. These windows totally take the shape, but these ones don't. Depends on the angle you look at. You can even see it from the front. It's sort of a flat look to it. So I'm going to contact my guys at Welsh Plastics and see if they can heat form it. I think the answer is going to be no. I was looking on the line about Margard, and it says 160 degrees Celsius maximum forming temperature. I don't think that's going to be enough heat to get it to set. So I may put the glass back in. I ordered some new glass, plus I got the old tinted glass there, and I'm going to pull off the tinting and inspect the windows and see they should be fine. They don't weigh that much. Probably going to add 5 pounds to the car, maybe 8 pounds to the car by putting the glass back in that. The other thing is the window regulator, because the window regulator has got this sharp bend in it. Here it has to go around the speaker, so it comes out and it has a really sharp bend here. That's a mechanical issue. So I'm thinking of adapting either electric, and what I would do with the electric, this sounds like a neat idea actually, is mount the actual handle and then just push the handle down for the window to go down, pull the handle up for the window to go up. So just convert this into a switch mechanically, and then use a simple, there's lots of different kits in the market for windows. I could use an old Beetle electric kit or a Mark II kit. There is no specific one for the Mark I, but you know, it's not a big deal, right? I just literally have to mount the new regulator mechanism. On the Mark IIs, they run a cable system, so you don't have this winding screw thing anymore. Maybe I could adapt that and keep the the winding mechanism. But I kind of like my idea of the electric window. I'm sort of thinking, hey, wait a sec, that'll be a lot of fun. So I think what I'll do is I'll pull the wires for the electrics now before I finish the dash in the next week or so, and then if I decide to put the electric mechanism in, I will. But I don't want to hold the project down. I gotta get this car on the road now, so I'm gonna finish it the way it is and call it a day for now. So I'm about to put my final door card on here. Just tell you a little bit. So I ordered Mark II, quite rare Mark II electric, their new replacement electric window lifts. I'm hoping to put the unit here. It's got a cable that runs over to the motor, And so I'm gonna have, I'm just figuring this out. I'm going to take the plastic and I'm going to get it formed, heat formed. And if that doesn't work, I've got the original glass panels there. They don't weigh that much more, so if I can't get the heat forming on the lexan, I'll switch back to the glass. And because this is a tight interference fit through here, I want to get rid of this old screw mechanism with the spring. And so I'll have a dual momentary rotary switch that I can take the handle and go pull the handle up a little bit, or you know, the window goes up, pull the handle down a little bit, the window goes down. So we're in good shape here to do that. And I've got this last little piece mechanism in, so it's time to put the door in its final position. And I did fix the elastic so that the pouches are flush and looking good on these things too. There she be. It's starting to look like a car now, eh? So yeah, those door cards turned out, and couldn't be happier. So I've got those speaker holes that I had to punch in, and didn't want it to look nasty, and wanted to all look original. So it's going to be great. Get the other door done now, and then the dash, and throw in a few panels in the back, and then the seats and the carpet. Woohoo! So I'm building the subwoofer enclosure. Tried to do it out of lexan, but didn't like how it was going. I thought it would be really cool to have it clear, but two things were bugging me. One, I don't think it was going to be stiff enough. Two, it was just not going to be really pretty when I was done. I'm going to have to glue it, use that sort of solvent adhesive stuff, and it smears. And so I bailed on it. I'm now doing this out of 3/4 inch high density plywood, and then doing a vinyl covering in the midnight blue. So that will be, it's just the glue's drying, contact cement, and I'll finish. And that goes in the corner here for my Fosgate carbon fiber subwoofer. So it's a super expensive sub, but it's small. It only has a 3-inch mounting depth, and will do the trick. So anyway, those interior panels, as you can see, are all in. Didn't like the way they fit. They bulge out. The rear ones bulge out a little bit. I tried to use a heat gun to reshape them. Sort of half successful, but it's just another example of old plastic moving around. And but again, can't be too picky. These cars were not perfect to begin with, so getting real close. Once the sub is in, finish putting the dash together, carpet goes in, seats go in. So we're slamming it together now. Well, after much cursing and swearing, it's in, good and solid, and I can just bolt the speaker in now that the speaker cables are being attached, and then we're ready to roll. Yeah, and there she is, all installed, looking the part. So that's awesome. So I was routing the nitrous line to the quadranoid solenoid, and using the same hole that I'm running the hood latch release mechanism through in the back there, and so I put them in both at the same time. Nitrous line's really tight to get in because the solenoid's underneath the independent throttle bodies that are running underneath there. There's no room to get your hands in there, so some serious gymnastics. But anyway, this hood release, so looking out over there, 1, 2, 3, go. It works now, but it was sticking, and no matter what I did to adjust it, remember this is an aftermarket carbon hood and all that, but I had to make the hole, the round hole, slightly larger, so I was using a little Dremel to open it up and then profile it and smooth it and sand it so that the plunger would would not catch on the way back out. It would partially open. And I had to make a special tool just to be able to get the hood open, because it would pop part way, and that was it. So I had to get in there and actually take the mechanism off. So anyway, it's good now. So just don't know if anybody's had that problem before, but getting that mechanism to reliably open and close with the aftermarket hood. But it's good now. So on to the final dash wiring.